Thank you very much, and welcome to the University of Oklahoma. And the second of what we hope will be a biennial placemaking conferences going on for a long time. I'm very happy to be part of it, part of the work of the Institute, and I'm happy to have the honor of introducing Mariela Alfonso. Let me say a few general things first, and as was indicated, I'm a historian, so I don't do what all of you do. I would fall in the category of being a 100% theorist, so that's what I'll do, and to kind of lay the groundwork or tee up Mariela's much more concrete remarks. To say that place matters is to swim against the most powerful and dominating currents of our time. The globalization of commerce, the technologies of communication and transportation that have made that globalization possible make it so easy to move people and products, ideas and styles, labor, that it sometimes seems the world is in fact becoming placeless. Our everyday practices reinforce this, the tenuous and fungible nature of place in our times is as evident as the cell phone that vibrates in our hand. When we answer, our first question is often, "Where are you?" And the answer the caller gives us could be anywhere, from Manhattan to Mumbai to the house next door. What more powerful evidence do we need that place doesn't really matter anymore? But place does still matter, and we ignore it at our peril. Whether we like it or not, we are corporeal beings, grounded in the particular, in some of the ways that President Boren mentioned in his remarks. The finite conditions of our embodiment, our creatureliness. So is everything else in our world, even if we sometimes forget the facts of the matter or get caught up in the power of our own digital illusions. The cloud that we hear so much about, in which untold billions of digital interactions are going on all the time, is not a cloud in the sky. It's the illusion of a cloud, a fantasy, a metaphor, whose plausibility is grounded in an army of servers, very much sitting on the ground, ungainly-looking physical objects, vulnerable to hurricanes, tornadoes, fires, and such. They, too, must have a place. But more importantly, we need to have places to be fully human. In losing place entirely and succumbing to the idea that a website can be a place and that digital relationships can substitute for friends and family, we risk forgetting the reality of our embodiment, our connection to the earth. We risk losing the basis for healthy and resilient individual identity. We risk forfeiting the preconditions for the cultivation of public virtues, civic virtues. For you can't be a citizen without being a citizen of some place in particular. You can't be a citizen of a website or a motel or an airport terminal. And if these dangers are real and present ones, surely we're not helpless to address them. Surely there are ways that intelligent people and intelligent public policy can begin to address them. And that's why we're here. Now, I don't want to be too melodramatic about this. Change and transition, however painful they may sometimes be, are part of a healthy and dynamic human existence. What's different now is that they happen so pervasively, reflecting a social and psychological fluidity that seems to mark our times. As we become ever more mobile, more interconnected, more absorbed in a panoply of things that are not immediately present to us, our consciousness has changed. The actual and tangible places in which we live and through which we move seem less important to us, more transient or provisional, interchangeable, even disposable. We no longer learn our streets and landscapes by having the experience of walking them. Instead, we shape the landscapes to be seen from an automobile and make them alien and forbidding to walkers. Sometimes it almost seems as if we're living like plants without roots, drawing our sustenance not from the earth beneath our feet, but from the satellites that encircle us and the computer clouds that feed and absorb our energies. Something is out of balance in the way we live. All the technological wizardry and individual empowerment have unsettled all facets of life and given rise to feelings of disquiet and insecurity in many Americans. The variety and spontaneous diversity of the world as we've known it for all the prior centuries of human history is gradually being leveled and effaced and insensibly transformed into something more standardized, artificial, rootless, pastless, and bland. A world of interchangeable airport terminals, franchise hotels and restaurants, a world of smooth surfaces designed for movement rather than rooted flourishing. It's a world of space rather than place. A world in which, as Gertrude Stein famously said about Oakland, there are no theirs there. And this placelessness has a profound implication for our ability to live dignified, purposeful lives, governing ourselves, engaged in our civic life, the kind of life that thinkers since Aristotle have regarded as the highest expression of human flourishing. Is the living of such lives even conceivable in a world without theirs? So yes, place matters and places matter. That, I think, is not in question. And we're not where we should be with regard to the quality of our places. The question before us is, what can we do about such a massive problem? Where to begin? Well, Mariela Alfonso, I think, has some good answers to these questions. As mentioned, she's a professor at NYU School of Engineering, president of Urban Imprint, founder of State of Place. She's dedicated her career to the examination of built environments with a view toward the ways those environments can be made better and better for complete human flourishing. Not just economic flourishing, but social well-being, health, environmental benefits. In doing so, she's consistently emphasized the multiple benefits of emphasizing walkability as a key index and change agent in the improvement of our towns and cities and in the advancement of placemaking. I find this an immensely persuasive idea, not least because it's so doable. You don't have to approach every alteration or improvement project as a massively expensive mega project full of disruption and expense. There are nearly always ways that walkability can be improved, even if only in small and incremental ways. But the cumulative effect of such small changes can be massive once we decide to walk down that road. The act of walking puts us back in contact with the earth. It brings us back off the cloud, back to our creatureliness, back to our places, which we now see so much more vividly. And we will be motivated to improve those places that we walk through in 1,000 other ways. Walking is a key. You know, you never know what's going to come to hand when you're preparing a talk for some occasion. I was flying back from Baltimore last night and reading, just for diversion, a book called The Idea of Europe by George Steiner. And lo and behold, I came across the following passage, which I'm going to read to you. He's trying to describe, why is Europe distinctive? What is it about Europe? And there's a bunch of things, of course. But he says, Europe has been and is walked. The cartography of Europe arises from the capacities, the perceived horizons of human feet. European men and women have walked their maps from hamlet to hamlet, from village to village, from city to city. More often than not, distances are on a human scale. They can be mastered by the traveler on foot. This fact determines a seminal relationship between European humanity and its landscape. Metaphorically, but materially, that landscape has been molded and humanized by feet and hands. As in no other part of the globe, the shores, fields, forests, hills of Europe, from La Coruña to St. Petersburg, from Stockholm to Messina, have been shaped not so much by geology, but by human and historical time. It says very well some of the things I'm trying to say, but applying it to Europe. Now, Steiner, if any of you who know about him, he's a notorious Europhile and goes way overboard. The book as a whole is very annoying in that regard. But he's right about this. The problem of placelessness is less pronounced in Europe. I think we'd all agree. Precisely because of this history that he describes, the way that Europe's roads and streets and highways began life as footpaths. And they have a deep structure that ultimately derives from the ordinary human act of walking. Now, we don't have a lot of that history in the United States. We do in some places, but not many. And actually, neither does most of the rest of the world, for that matter. We had different challenges in settling and populating this large, sprawling, often quite forbidding continent. And now we have a different challenge. We have to proceed very self-consciously to retrofit our environments and make them more fully into places worthy of the name. And this is precisely the admirable life work of Mariela Alfonso. It's my pleasure to invite her to the podium at this time to speak about defining great places. Please welcome her.